Welcome to the Buyer Enablement Podcast. My name is Josh Fedie. I'm your host today. I have a guest on here that I tried really hard to have on the Buyer Enablement Podcast almost a year ago today. I have proof in LinkedIn in a message that I sent her saying, I just heard you on a panel. You blew my mind. We speak the same language and I need you on the podcast. And guess what she did? She ghosted me. She did not respond. She did accept my connection request, but she did not respond to my request. When she did, though, the power of social selling. I got to give a shout out to my boy, Jonah. Jonah tagged her in a post, actually put up some things that she had put on LinkedIn recently and said, you should probably be looking at the Buyer Enablement Podcast. We'd love to have you on as a guest. Josh should be in contact with you. I immediately sent her an introduction to the podcast and an invite to be on, and then she booked some time. So I'm not kidding. You're about to meet somebody that if you're not following on LinkedIn right now, you need to follow her immediately. There has been nothing but constant value ever since we got connected on LinkedIn. I'm not even kidding. I'm not buttering you up. It is constant value. And this might be one of the biggest hustlers I've ever met, because if you go to her LinkedIn profile, she's got 8 things on there and they all say present. So you're working on all kinds of stuff. But Hannah, can you do a real quick introduction for everybody? And welcome to the Buyer Enablement Podcast.
Oh man, no, look at that intro. I don't need to say anything. Just go on LinkedIn. No, I'm joking. It's been a really interesting post-school decade and a bit, right? 13, 14 years. As you know, I'm Hannah Ajikawo. Ajikawo is a Nigerian name. For some reason, without seeing my face, people think it's Japanese, which makes it's a great icebreaker. It's great, but my face is everywhere now. So I don't like giving myself labels, but to make it easier, I'll give myself a label. So okay. Josh said I have lots of present roles on LinkedIn, and it's true, right? The only thing I haven't added is that I'm a mummy, right? So I'm a mummy to a 4-year-old boy. His name's Gabriel. He's amazing, and he doesn't listen to me, and he tells me that my rules are nonsense all the time. He says they don't make sense. I'm also the EMEA practice lead at Skaled. So Skaled is a modern sales consulting firm. We go in and we execute. That's our USP. That's what we do. We get in, we fix stuff that's broken, or when you're trying to build out sustainable infrastructure in sales, that's what we do. We build it so you can scale. I'm also the global partnerships lead at Sistas in sales. I am a woman of color in sales. I'm just trying to do what I can to create less little Hannahs who, got into sales. Nobody looked like me. Nobody, I didn't feel like I could do anything but keep my head down and just shut up and get on with it. So I'm trying to break that mold and give people the confidence to push and companies the opportunity to be bold and make their increased representation.
Yep.
And I also coach and mentor salespeople. I mean, I do it mostly for free. It's just fun. I generally looked over the last couple of years and I said, when do I smile? When I'm with my boy, when I'm shopping for sneakers, and when I'm coaching. Yeah. That's the times that I smile the most. So I said, what can I do to do more of that? So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And I think 2 years ago I just broke out of being in a sales role. I had lots of hybrid roles over the last few years of my career, and I was like, you know what, I just feel like I can do more if I just step out of a role.
Yeah.
So I did that. I gave myself 6 months and said, I'm gonna do this personal brand thing. I'm just gonna talk about stuff. And I got on YouTube, I cleared out my office, I stood in front of the white wall, made a video. It was a bit grainy. My iPad kept making this weird grainy sound. Go on YouTube to my first video. It's barely got any views, but I was psyched. I didn't even care.
No.
I'm like, 3 people have watched it. I'm going to be a sales superstar. Yep. But no, I did that because it was the first time I was brave enough to say something and just have a perspective. And I realized that I enjoyed that. Yeah. And what naturally happened over those 6 months is companies would message me and be like, I love the way you think about sales. And I got additional followers. And then, I got companies saying, can you help us? Do you help? And I'm like, I think so. Yeah, let's go. So that kind of built up. And then Clubhouse came out. I'm like, what? I get to talk just endlessly all night.
This is good old Clubhouse days. I remember that month. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was a solid month. It was a solid month, Josh. But I was on there, and I remember I was hosting a chat. It was a Clubhouse chat called Stop Firing Salespeople. And it came from a place of that I'd been fired before. And I'm like, yeah, that was unjustified. Like
Yeah.
your strategy was wrong. So I ran that room so companies could rethink every time something went wrong with sales numbers. In my head, I'm like, what else can we look at before we
Yeah.
fire a salesperson? What else can
Yep.
we look at? So
Yeah.
in that way, I met Jake, and then Jake Dunlap at Scaled, and just lots of things have unfolded for me over the last 18 months. So that's my 3-minute intro.
I mean, it's incredible. Clarification, I did know you were a mommy because it's in your subject line on LinkedIn. I did my research. Don't worry. It's there.
Go.
I know it's there. I know it's there. 4-year-old boys are the worst. So don't worry. They grow up and they get better. And the beauty of a boy is that they do turn into mama's boys. They all do. So it'll be fine. You'll get through it. I have a son and a daughter. My daughter's 11. My son is 13. So it hasn't gotten better yet. They're getting there. Now they're just terrible and more opinionated, and their opinions have a little bit more weight behind them because they actually know some things now. And with kids these days having access to YouTube, they know lots of things that I don't want them to know. But what can you do? No, I'm not kidding. I'm super thrilled to have you on here. I try to curate my LinkedIn feed to bring me positivity, to bring me education, to motivate me. I have been cleansing my LinkedIn environment recently because there's just been so much noise on there. And I don't want to have that noise creeping into my life. I want to hear from people that actually know what they're talking about on there. I want to hear from people that challenge me to think in a different way or to understand things that I don't currently understand that I should. And honestly, the content that you've been putting up on there is incredible. So please, everybody make sure and send Hannah a connection request when this is done, when you're done listening to this. It'll bring you value. And then just start muting some of the other noisy people that decide to post 14 times a day asking which your favorite Coca-Cola label is or whatever. I mean,
There's some random stuff, man.
Seriously, these polls, it's just going to destroy everything. But regardless, modern sales, strategies, this is something that's just peppered all over everything that you're a part of. And everybody kind of has their own opinion of what modern sales strategies should be, what they are, what kind of tactics we should be using, what our cadences should look like. Sometimes marketing is more involved in that and sometimes they're not so involved in that. But regardless, everybody's talking about it. I talk about it too all the time. But what does modern sales strategies mean to you?
Yeah. Do you know what? I read, I was reading some of Gartner's research today, and they use a word that it made me feel like, okay, that's a bit much. But now that you've asked that question,
Yeah.
they're talking about like a modern, to build a modern sales strategy, you need to form an internal coalition. And I really feel like that's it. It's not this sales are doing this and we've got our number, marketing are doing this and we've got our number, or what we were talking about before, like we own digital, we own this system, and the customer is ours and we own the customer. Like, what is that? We own the customer. What is this? We don't own anything, right? Customers can leave when they want. They can pay you to get out contracts, whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it really is about like just creating this like nice, flexible, agile experience for customers. It's not what do I need to do as a salesperson. It's what's this thing that we create as an organization, not just sales, that allows a customer to come inside our environment and do all the things they need to do, step out of it, come back in where they see fit, get the information they need, have the conversations they have, step out again, do what they want, come back in. But we almost got like guideposts. So think about like, I always use maps and stuff like that, right? So you walk into a theme park, boom, you're in the experience. Like you're through the gates. So you're in, can't really run out because you're in now, right? Bit like that sales or buyer process. You've walked into the theme park and you're like, lots of glitz and glamour and sparkly things. But then you've got all of these things that kind of look the same when you're making decisions. Do I go that way first? Or the line's long there and this is that. And you're like, you're in this experience, but there's places it tells you, go here if you want this, go there if you want that, go here if you want that. And we almost have to recreate that because B2C got it right decades ago. Like, I mean, why are we so far behind when it comes to modern buying? These things where I do everything I need is here.
Yeah.
Like if day to day, I'm like, oh, I need to send an email. Oh, I need to pay some money to my friend. I need to buy something. It's all here.
Yeah.
And then we just working with, remember, that's like hundreds and thousands of companies I have access to and things, right? Then it comes to B2B and it's like just dealing with one company. I need to speak to 15 different people because nobody has the answers. I'm not qualified or allowed to do that. I can't speak to you about price, Mr. Customer, because my sales manager said, if I mention price, I'm going to get my answer handed to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, we need to be in these experiences and you need to create that. And you need to make sure that you're flexible enough, but you're upskilling your salespeople to help facilitate, to project manage, to move people along. Because that's what I want. I want a guide. You go into a theme park again, you're like, oh, sorry, you got the big t-shirts on, right? I'm just here to help you. But, you know, behind the scenes, I want you to go a certain way. I want you to walk that way because guess what? We've got a show, the dolphin show. And I want you to get to the dolphin show because we're going to upsell you some popcorn or some stuff. But
I love this theme park reference. Dude. I love the theme. This is, look, 90% of a sales process is visual, right? And when you can create, it can either be a visual you literally put in front of somebody, or it can be something that's so clear in their mind that it becomes a visual, right? Everybody in the world, well, not everyone in the world, but most people have been in a theme park in their life or have seen what a theme park looks like on television if they haven't been to a theme park. They understand that. And what you just described there, like, we're not here to sell anymore. We are here to guide. We need to be proper guides in the process because that's just how sales is today. Somebody walking into a theme park, you're right. That is no different than somebody walking into your company's website and then saying, you know what, I'm here. My daughter really wants to see the dolphins. And what direction are the dolphins? That's when sales comes in. We're the guide, right? Oh, your daughter's into dolphins. Incredible. We've got a show at 1 p.m. We've got another show at 3 p.m. If you're into dolphins, you might also want to check out the seals only perform at 1. You might want to go see them first and then make your way over to the dolphins. You're just guiding, right? This is the exact same thing that we need to be nimble enough to be equipped in the sales process to do. I love that description. One thing that really irked me recently, and I would love, like, I don't rehearse these shows in advance, right? So
we haven't rehearsed this. This is just
we barely know each other. This is the first time I've met you. So like, I just kind of want to geek out and ask you some questions and see if this bothers you as well. You're talking about the future of sales. I'm always talking about the future of sales. I'm always trying to focus on what is the future of sales. One thing that really, really, really irked me the other day, I'm in the market for some softwares right now for my business. And I haven't done a lot of purchasing in my lifetime. Not until I owned my own business did I actually have to purchase in a B2B space. And it's teaching me some stuff. I mean, I'm going to school right now because I'm like, whoa, that was dumb. Do I do that? Right? But somebody reached out to me and just, man, it was a fire outreach. It was insane. I mean, I was just like, I actually want to talk to this rep. This is good. This is good outreach. And I immediately responded and was like, yep, here's a link to my calendar. Please grab whatever time works best for you. And I'm not kidding you. It was a BDR. It was a BDR. But they responded and they said, oh, okay, yeah, the meeting's going to be with X, Y, and Z. He'll send you his link soon. And I went, whoa, you just passed go with me. I just gave you my link and told you, go ahead and grab time with me. But what I also instructed you to do was for yourself to grab time with me. And I'm starting to feel, even in my own business, like the BDR AE differences, do we need those? Do we? I mean, shouldn't we be finding our own business and handling them ourselves? I mean, I can see in certain businesses where an AE makes a lot of sense. I can see it in certain businesses. But I also feel like we need to start adapting some flexibility in other businesses where it's not critical because that AE wasn't really necessary. That BDR could have landed that deal. That BDR already gained my trust. And now I'm being forced to meet with somebody that I don't know and I wasn't impressed with. And then guess what? When I got on the call, wasn't impressed with them, right? Just wasn't.
Yeah, you're just like, okay.
But am I wrong? Am I wrong about this? Like, do we need a BDR and an SDR and an AE? Do we still need those? Or like, do we need just everybody to upskill and just start taking it from start to finish on their own?
Josh, I'm going to have all my customers canceling their contracts with us if
I
I'm
know.
too honest about this. No, I'm going to be honest. I always am. It really, really depends on the structure. First, it depends on. There's so many moving parts. It depends on the products that you're selling, the different markets that you're tackling, the amount. If you're working on your metrics and you're looking at the correct leading indicators for your business, and you know that you need X amount of deals. And you kind of do the backwards numbers and all those things. You know that you're going to have one anomaly. There's going to be one massive enterprise sale that shakes the whole business and is great.
Yeah.
But if you track it back and you're like, man, we need 100 customers this year to do the numbers that we really need. And then you do a bit more backtracking. You usually find we probably didn't need any junior reps. We just need our AEs to do some stuff. I'm with you completely. And this was back in the day. It was like that. We had, I remember in one of my early roles, so I did the same job. I booked meetings. Mm-hmm. However, at the same time, I had a really small target. If the deal value based on, our initial qualification was relatively small, mm-hmm. that did not make sense to pass up. We handled that.
Yeah.
But there was this logical thing in the beginning. If it was a larger deal, to, we're going to help you understand some stuff. And we could talk enough about the problems. We could talk enough about the timelines. And we used at the time the strongman qualification methodology, which barely anyone knows about. And I still think it's fantastic. So I'm going to try and remember it from the top of my head. So that's around the solution. So do you have the solution?
Yep.
What are the timescales? Are they in research or review? A lot of people don't even know what that means. What kind of options are they considering? So from a competitive perspective, what's their actual need? Are they galvanized? Are they motivated to do anything? What's their money? So is there any money available? Are they an authority? And it might be negotiation or something like that. Can't remember the last N. But essentially, we had to go through all of that and really dig deep. And we would know, perfect. The next stage is this. And it was logical for the buyer at that time. Obviously not perfect, but it was logical. So to answer your question, it bothers me because I don't know what value you're adding. If you're going to stop, you're coming as a BDR, great. We had a conversation. I went through exactly the same thing. The BDR was terrible though, but I knew that I wanted to buy it. I was like, let me just feel through it. I said, you know what? For fun, let me go through the sales process.
You didn't want to ask, can I have someone else?
I went through this and the person just was looking at their list of questions and everything I said they didn't pay any attention to, which just constantly validates my points that I talk about. Get rid of your checklists. Teach your salespeople to have authentic conversations. Teach them to learn. Get them curious. Teach them how to ask more questions and go deeper. And then I went to the AE. It was exactly the same. In fact, this is what I experienced. So we have our cameras and they literally were doing this. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. And I was like, did you manage to do any research on me at all? And my company? Well, it's not really my job to do that. I kid you not. That's what the AE said. So do we need BDRs? Do we need AEs? They should be responsible for a majority of their pipe gen. It just doesn't make sense for certain companies. Small, low value ones, let the BDR handle it, man. Get some experience closing deals. I don't know why we're so scared of that. You got a 5K deal, 6K, close it.
Just close it and enable them to close it.
Yeah.
I've never had a sales. I've been in sales 20 years. Well, no, I've been in sales longer than 20 years. I was in sales 20 years before I launched this business. Now I'm full-time sales still, right? I have never not found my own leads. I have never not closed my own deals. Never. My entire career, literally from the day I started in sales, it was go find some business and go land some business and let us know when you're done doing it. Right?
Yeah. And that's the norm though. That's what I thought was the norm, not anymore.
I thought it was the norm too. And then I started getting introduced to AEs and listen, I know there's a place for AEs. I'm not saying there isn't. Okay. But I just started to get into this SaaS world and I'm like, what do you mean AE? What do they do now? What? So this person does all the hard stuff. That's the stuff that's really taxing. And then they just pass it off and they get out of you're not even riding along anymore. You're out of here. I don't understand how I just think that organizations need to be focusing on how do we upskill everybody? If you're an AE, upskilling is going to sound like you are taking a step back, because the upskilling you actually need is to understand how to find your own business and to get people to have a conversation with you. And you're going to feel like I'm taking a step back, and I promise you, you are going to learn some things if you do that. But if you're a BDR and you want to become an AE, or you want to be the somebody that can close the deal someday, you need to be involved in those conversations so you understand what you're going to need to be doing down the road to prove yourself and to close those deals, right? I just feel like it's a huge disservice to everybody for everybody to not be more ingrained in that process. And my main thing that I took out of it was just, I don't want someone to feel this way. You know, the way sales has changed so much right now. You talk about the importance of representation. I talk about the importance of being accessible, right? And I think that there's similarities between the two of those. I need to be accessible because people will see things I do and they are going to want to learn from me, and they're going to want the playbook of how did you get here in your career. That's representation. That's representation for you, right? Like, there is going to be small Hannahs in the world that see you in sales and go, I don't know anyone in my family in sales. I don't know anyone in my group of friends in sales, but Hannah's doing it. How do I get there? And we need to be accessible and creating that playbook and the guidance on channels like LinkedIn so that people can learn if they have a growth mindset and they're willing to take action and actually educate themselves, right? That's what we need to be doing. It's so, so important. But along those lines of the content, you got something? I can let you in.
No, go for it. I go for it.
Well, where I'm going with it with the content is there are people that are killing it with creating the content on channels like LinkedIn specifically that are attracting customers because of who they are. There are sales reps in this world that are making way more money right now than you would ever imagine they would make, that have changed jobs 3 times in the last 1.5 years because they keep getting courted by other places that are willing to pay $40,000 more a year for them to come there. Why? Because they're good at making videos on LinkedIn. Are you freaking kidding me? 10 years ago, marketing teams would have slapped us on the hand and said, no way,
Instant death.
You're
Instant
fired.
death.
You're fired. You just put a video up with our company's logo on it. Are you kidding me? You're not allowed to say those things on LinkedIn. Now it's celebrated. And people that are doing it the right way, creating content that is personal, it's helping them grow their personal brand, but it also relates to what they do for a living so people know how they could buy for them. It doesn't matter if they're a BDR or an AE. That's the person you want to buy from. And so that's why I keep coming back to these lines must be getting blurred right now, because when I find a personality that I trust and like on LinkedIn and they educate me all day long about potential solutions to the problems I have, when I'm ready to buy, I don't want to buy from anyone other than that person. And if that person says, I'm sorry, I'm just a BDR, you're going to have to talk to my AE, I'm going to say, no, you're the one that did this. You get the credit. You did this. Anyway, I'll stop talking for a minute. I know you got something there.
No, I post a lot of content, and I recorded a video the other day. I was very excited about it and realized it wasn't recording.
I hate when that happens.
It was like solid 10 minutes as well. But I'm like, team. I made something and it essentially said, salespeople, the only reason you have KPIs, activities, all these things is so the business has a nice, easy way to measure stuff and can add some predictability to some of to what could be happening or what could happen this year. If you make 2 phone calls and you smash your target every day, whatever it is you're selling, or you close 4 deals instead of 50, they don't care. So go out and break the freaking rule book and just do your job. Like, go out. Oh, we're not supposed to do cold calling. My BDR does that. What the heck? Do you think your sales leader is going to say, oh, Hannah, I hated the fact that you generated $500,000 in pipeline last month. That really pisses me off, because guess what? The BDR missed out on that. I'm like, in every role I've had, when we have introduced a BDR or SDR, whatever they want to call it around the world, I have always booked more meetings than them. And I've always felt scared about the quality that was coming over anyway. And then I had to spend so much time coaching and mentoring them, like, team, okay, this is how we go about doing these things. And what you said there, you passed over, you set unrealistic expectations. They thought I was doing a demo. I will never do a demo on a first call. So you end up going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then again, we come back to buyer enablement and buyer experience. And the buyer's like, sorry, I thought, Hannah, I don't really know how you fit into this equation. Your colleague messaged me and I said, that's fine. They didn't say that you'd be on the call because they sent it from their calendar. And who are you? What are you doing? What's your value? So we're not even enabling our junior reps, whether we agree with them being in role or not, to do a good handover.
Yes.
A nice professional. This is the reason why. This is the reason why it makes sense for Hannah to speak to you about this. They speak to me. I spend all my days speaking to people, helping to understand if it would make sense for them to engage with us based on the problems I think they might have and the solutions that we offer. However, Hannah spends time diagnosing. She spends time digging into those issues. She spends time understanding your priorities. And she's just so much more equipped to save you time and maximize the time that you're going to have with us. This experience that you're going through with us, Hannah's going to really make it for you because she's been doing this for a while. That's the handover, not you need to speak to her. I can't tell you price. I want you to tell them price. Why can't you give them an indication?
This is great. I mean,
I'm so confused.
We're so aligned. This is why I wanted to talk to you. I mean, I talk about, you call it the handover, I call it the handoff, right? Whatever. We're just in different regions of the world, right? So, same thing though. It's so important. And honestly, any businesses listening to this right now that are saying that Josh, he's got it all wrong. He's an idiot. We need BDRs. We need AEs. They need to be there. That's fine. I'm not totally disagreeing with anyone on that. But I think what you just clearly articulated is a huge problem that I have witnessed at least 100% of the time that I've talked to an organization buying as a B2B buyer. Those handoffs are so sloppy. Improve that experience. If you insist on having BDRs do the outreach and you insist on AEs being the next thing, like the second this calendar link is clicked, it's the AE. If there's no understanding from a buyer's perspective of why I just booked a meeting with Hannah, but now I'm meeting with Bill, if I'm not alerted on that, immediately you've introduced some friction in the process. And buyers already don't trust sales professionals, which is why most sales professionals don't even have sales in their title anymore these days. We call ourselves strategists. We call ourselves
enterprise strategy manager.
Exactly. We've removed the word sales because it's so filthy, because there's so many filthy individuals in the sales profession. They're just looking for the red flags already. And the second they go, all right, I'm going to meet with Hannah. Oh, great. Your meeting with Bill has been scheduled. Well, who the hell's Bill? Why am I talking to Bill? Some buyers just don't understand this stuff. And it just starts infusing that. Let's do a better job of handoffs at all stages. That's just the first handoff that happens. There's a bunch of other handoffs that are going to be happening through that buyer's journey that we need to be focusing on as well. But that's the first one, and that's the easiest one. All the rep needs to do, all the BDR needs to do is say, Hannah, thank you so much for scheduling some time. That call is going to be with Bill because specifically you, in your customer, in your business, in the vertical that you're in, with the needs that you have identified you have right now, he's the best equipped. You just said that literally, but nobody has ever said that to me before. They just say, here you go. Here you go.
No. So I'm just here to just book the meetings and my AE will speak to you about price.
Right. So
what? And this is the thing. So I remember being 2013. I remember being on a call and I booked a meeting, and the guy, so this is a full cycle role. And I remember booking the meeting and the guy said, just send me your proper salesperson. I know how it works. And I was like, you'll see me next week then. And he was like, oh, because that was starting to be introduced. It's just this breaking it all up. So he was surprised that I made the outreach. He was very difficult. He just wouldn't give it. He was like, you're sounding very confident with your value proposition. I was like, I am. And I'll tell you why. And he was like, pretty compelling. All right, let's meet and send me your proper salesperson. But that happened because of what was being infused and what was being created with this breaking up the cycle. However, as I said, I will work with organizations to help them implement that strategy, to implement the BDR, the SDR up to AE. But I always, nobody can tell me any different. Every single company I work with, I say, but why, how much responsibility does your AE have for generating their own meetings and pipeline? And they're like, at the moment, they're just really busy they are never that busy. I promise you. The research is there, but outside of that, they're just kind of like browsing, doing stuff. Like, ask them to quantify how much time they've spent in front of customers doing customer stuff. It's very low. Yep. It's really, really low. And they will fill up the time because you haven't given them direction. However, Josh, where are the salespeople that are like, this doesn't feel right to me. Can I make some calls? Can I get outreach? I remember asking my director, sorry, why don't the sales team have outreach? Why is it only the SDRs? And they were like, the SDRs book meetings. I was like, and this is the first time I've heard of outreach. I was like, yeah, but this outreach tool is insane. I like, what the heck? You tell me I can just send out this message 1,000 times and just change up some stuff?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, but it doesn't really make sense for salespeople. And I didn't get it. I wasn't allowed to. This is the thing. But that being said, I'm Hannah, right? So I just got on LinkedIn. I remember joining the company. I sent out 15 cold messages, booked 8 meetings, and closed 2 deals just from the cold outreach, because I'm like, I've been doing this for a while now. Like, give me the tools to make it easier. I've been doing it old school. Yeah. But imagine how many more messages I could have got out in that first month or 2 if I had the resources. And we're I don't know what it is. Like, businesses are just like, no, they're too expensive to send out cold messages. It's automated. Ain't gonna take that long. Make it more select. Make sure that they're only going after target accounts. Not that hard. And then on the flip side, the salespeople that are not challenging the business. If you can see that customers complain about stuff, go back to your business and say, why can't we make this easier?
Yeah.
Go research some tech. Like, I used to introduce tech to all of my sales leaders. Hey, I saw this new thing that it will make it easier for this. Yeah. I challenge finance. Why do we send out a 10-page terms and conditions around payments? What do we need? Oh, we don't really need that. It's all blurb. So can we just put it online and we just have a 1-pager? No one's requested that. Can it be done? Yeah. Our business partners were like, oh, this is a dream.
Right.
You guys have always been. So it's just really small things like that. Like, every customer, you go on their website and it says, we are company. We're customer first. Yeah. We are a customer first business. You are important to us, but we're not going to put a phone number on a website. You don't need to call us. We're going to make you request a demo and you're going to get 4 responses. You're going to go on our chatbot. That's not operative after, it's not operating after 5 p.m. So no one's on there. So all of these things that you're doing are convenient for you.
Yeah. Not
your customer.
That's the problem right there. That was literally my post on LinkedIn just yesterday. I'm challenging companies to look at their sales tech stack that they have in their organization and legit ask themselves, are these tools here equipping our customer to move forward with confidence, or are these tools designed to help us internally have an easier time with our lives? And then you have to...
How can you do this? Everyone's going to hate you.
Well, hey, I'm fine with it. And here's the thing. Ooh. Sales tools that are equipped solely to help an internal organization function better are not wrong. They do have a place and they need to exist. I'm not saying they're wrong. But what I'm saying is, if you had a scale, the weighted scale, right? And on one side, you have sales tools that are only going to serve your internal users at your company, your sales team, your customer success team, your marketing team. And on the other side, you have tools that you've invested money in that make your buyer's process easier. I guarantee that scale is going to look like this, like in an insane way. The tools that companies are looking at and reviewing and going, okay, well, does this make it easier for our customer? They're not even asking that question right now. Listen, Gong, incredible tool. Call monitoring is insane, and it's so valuable to marketing teams. Do you think your customer gives 2 shits whether or not you recorded that conversation? No. Do you think your customer that you're talking to feels better because you had AI assistants telling you to stop asking questions, stop talking, or to ask this question? No. CRMs are great. They are the lifeblood of an organization. Every company needs a CRM. I am not arguing that. You can put the nicest note in your CRM when you're done with the conversation. It's not going to change the relationship you have with your customer because they never see the notes you put in your CRM, okay? Finding numbers and information to reach out to people. Great tool to invest money in. Every business needs it. Do you think your customer feels better that it was easier for you to find their mobile phone number? No, right? We need to start looking we need to start looking at tools and ask the question, if we get this, A, will it help us internally? Yes. Great. Now let's ask the important question. Someone needs to purchase from us because we bought this. Is this going to enable that to happen better? Are we building a better experience for our buyers because of this? This is why Slack was worth so much money to Salesforce. Everyone went, why is it worth $27 billion? That makes no sense. Yes, it does. Why? Because on average, we talk to our customers across 9 different channels right now. That's not easy for anybody. And what did Slack do? Slack came out and said, guess what we are? We're a tool that helps your internal teams communicate better. But also, you can invite your customers into this. You can organize everything into one place. And guess what matters more than anything in sales? What was said. What was said matters, because questions that are asked and things that are said in response influence everything that happens after the contract is finally signed. And having a record of what was said and what was asked for is important. And that's why Slack was worth $27 billion, right?
You're spot on. But I challenge you on one point around the CRM though.
Please challenge me.
Customer relationship management. I mean, most people don't know that that's kind of what it meant. But so we know that people don't like to fill that in. Mm-hmm. However, the value that you get and you can provide to a customer is huge if used properly. What I mean by that is one of the biggest things is being able to form a picture of what the relationship that you have with a customer. Again, we don't really teach our salespeople to kind of condense, 100 notes and think, what's the story I'm going to tell? However, those who are equipped, they can look at a picture in CRM and be like, okay, cool. These guys have been working with us for ages. They spent 8 years. We had lots of closed lost. Now we've got a couple of closed ones. What changed 3 years ago? Why did they finally decide to work? Like, you start to build this picture. Yes. And then when you do just introduce yourself, or marketing has an event or whatever it is, then it makes sense for them. And you will get the odd buyer that says, oh my God, I have to go over this all again. Like, don't you have notes somewhere that tells you that what we've been like, why do I have to go through this again and be like, okay, so this is what we have. This is what we use. My colleague used to work and support this. I'm brand new to the organization, but you should know this. I told Josh this last week. Why don't you know this? And that's that whole, so there is value.
You are 1,000% right.
If it's used properly, but we don't, I work with sales reps again, and I'm just surprised that they're not always being equipped internally to learn how to tell stories from the information they have.
No, you are 100% right. See, like I said, CRMs, they are mission critical to a business, but you're also hinting at one of the big problems, which is people don't use them properly. They don't log the conversations properly, and they don't review them before they reach out to somebody. They don't use the intel that's in there. And I've seen a lot of organizations where certain information isn't shared with sales. Certain information about the activities is only shared with marketing, and sales doesn't even have a glimpse on what they've been looking at, which is insane to me, right?
What is that?
I don't know.
What is that about?
I don't know, but it's so common, right? And so, a tool is just a tool. It doesn't matter what the tool is. And even if it's a tool that's supposed to enable your customer to move forward better, it's still just a tool unless you actually use it the right way. So we're not really arguing like these things exist for a reason. They need to be there, but there's a recipe for success within these. They were built with a recipe for success. It's just, are people going to use them in that way? All right, I'm going to lose you pretty soon because I'm almost at the time that I promised you, but I could keep doing this for the whole thing.
We're going to do it again. We need a part 2.
We'll do a part 2. Listen, 2 opinionated people. This is bad news.
This is 4-hour podcast.
This is really bad. This is really bad. We were chit-chatting for like 5 seconds before we started this episode. One thing that I wanted to talk to you about, again, going back to modern sales, which is what you focus on, and coaching and training and all of that. One of the things that I've come across, and I want to hear your response to this and how you work with this. One of the things that I've come across is that as sales professionals, we have a process. We do. Sales is a process. It's always been a process. I mean, you already discussed one of the many processes during this podcast that exists out there, right? There's all these processes. And I find that many, many, many reps are unwilling to change that process. Once they find a process that works, they're like, oh, this is my process forever and ever. I don't want to change this. But the reality is, I don't think anyone can argue that sales has fundamentally changed in the last couple of years. It's been changing over the last 10 years. That's why I started building my business. I saw it was changing. I saw interactions were changing. And then COVID hit, and it was like, hey, guess what? Where sales was going to be in 15 years, it's here today. This is where we are now, right? And it took people a while to really sit back and re-examine and allow themselves to change their process, to learn new technologies, to learn new ways of engaging. And it's been challenging. For me as a business owner, it's been a long road to convince people to innovate in their sales process, right? I'm sure you deal with this all the time, and I would just love some wisdom around where do you go with these conversations? How do you affect change in an organization that needs change in their process?
So there's two. There's what is it? One or is it two questions? So when I,
it's a couple.
I know when I first look at the way in which somebody's the structure of some, I always call it like a revenue engine. Like what does your revenue engine look like? I try to understand the logic behind it. That's the first thing. But I also ask the question of like, what is the objective? So people talk about entry gates, exit gates in CRM systems, but I always just say, well, what's the objective of this? What is the objective of your discovery? Like, okay, they had a call and you're like, the next stage is discovery. And they're like, well, we need to qualify them and qualify them. And we need to make sure that, there's someone that we could run a demo with if your demo is not joint. And I'm like, okay, so what's in it for the buyer at this stage? What's the buyer getting out of the discovery? I'm like, okay, so the challenge you have is your whole sales process is to be convenient for you. And this is why you get sales people or people who fall out of sales processes, because they're like, I don't know what journey you were on, buddy, but I was literally on a different one. The buyer's like, I wasn't ready for that. That didn't make any sense to me. Right. So one of the things that I do is get companies to understand what the objectives are behind the actions. That's it. Like these processes you have in place, what's the objective for you and also the customer? What are you trying to get at? There is going to be a time when you need to have free qualification calls. Do you know why? Because Gartner, there's up to 20 decision makers now. It's like, oh, friggin' hell. Right. So maybe you need to have a few just early calls. Let's just feel out some stuff. Let's get to know each other. Let me send you some information. Use platforms like SalesReach. Use platforms that allow me to just load some stuff in and direct you. At this stage, just dibble in that and get some questions. I want you to come to the next conversation, buyer, with questions, because that's going to help you to firstly just whittle out some stuff that's a bit confusing. And then you know what we're going to do? We're going to look at having a deeper dive. What that means is I'm really going to try and understand how your business is working right now. I really want to know the whys and behind why you're doing this thing. Like companies, they're not willing to do that. They're like, we've had a call, our BDR handed it over, and now it's a discovery. Maybe the BDR needs to speak to 2 more people and book 2 or 3 more meetings in the same business, but you're not incentivizing them to do that, because one meeting for one company that's it. Yeah. Unless it's a different division. Maybe they need to book 3 or 4 meetings in the same department because it's so huge. So if you think about what you're trying to get out of it, you'll realize that your process needs to be a bit more semi-linear. It needs to kind of wiggle up and down a bit before it goes across. But a lot of companies, I'll be honest with you, they won't change. So you have to just work with what they have and just make salespeople better at doing things that are going to be convenient for the salespeople rather than the customer, which is really annoying for me. I'll be honest.
That's going to be the title for this episode. I love the words you just used there. The objective behind the actions. That is powerful. That's a powerful thing for somebody to have in the back of their head whenever they do anything at literally any stage of their customer's journey, is what are the objectives behind these actions? And you got to look at them on both sides too, right? I mean, like, what are their objections here? And what are my objectives out of this, right? Like, how do we make sure that this is frictionless? How do we make sure that both sides are getting what they need out of this relationship? You know, not going to use the marriage reference, right? I'm not going to do it. But it's like being married. There, I threw it in there.
No, we just want to I don't know. Early on in the process, I'm a big believer that most people, we get way too excited. And to be fair, most buyers are just like, we just want to kind of check out if this is worth my time, really.
Yeah.
Based on what I've got going on, is should I be prioritizing this or not? And that's it. But we're just like, you have a need. You said you got a problem. I got 100 problems in my office right now. I have my printer doesn't work properly. The shelves are a mess. Like my lights a mess. I got loads of problems. Is it priority? No, I can get what I need to get done.
Yeah.
What do I prioritize right now?
It's a great understanding, right? I think that we get lured into that where, oh, wow, we just identified that this is a problem of yours. Then this must be the next thing you're going to do in your business. And you're so right. It's just another problem. And the reality is, when you keep stacking problems, all things slow. We all have that issue. When we have too many things on our plate and too many things holding us back in our mind, and we're thinking, everything slows down, right? And then eventually your buyer does need to sit down and go, okay, here's my stack of problems. I got 99 of them. Today, I'm going to take one of those problems and solve for it. And I'm probably going to start with the easiest one, right? I'm going to whittle this down. I'm going to take the easy ones out. And you know what? That software that I really, really like, it's on the bottom of that list because it's going to be more complex. I'm going to have to involve legal. I'm going to have to involve training. That one I'm going to get to when this stack of 99 problems gets down to 30. That's when I'm going to address that one. I think we do need to be understanding of that in our efforts.
But Josh, just a quick one. Like, what if you, using a platform like yours, you just keep dropping content, you just keep dropping insight, you don't have to say, hey, I'm just emailing you to bump it back up to the top of your email inbox. It's just like, quick note, check the database or check sales reach, check our little portfolio. It's just this thing that we have where this is the space that we have that's going to enable you. And maybe in 7 months they go back into that link, you get an alert as a salesperson, you're like, oh my gosh, they opened the link again. Brilliant. They're in the enablement space.
I mean, it's like you've been sitting in on some of my demos, Hannah, because that's what we do. That's what we do. I tell people all the time that the touch point in the sales process matters. So many reps fall back on the, hey, I sent you an agreement last week. You said your team was going to look at it. Have they looked at it? And that's all they send. Or the dreaded just checking in. And it happens, and people complain about it on LinkedIn every single day, and it still happens. I get them all the time. Or even worse, I sent you an email last week and I didn't hear back from you. Thought I'd bump it. Don't bump it. What? I saw it. I found no value. I didn't respond to you. This doesn't need to go any further than this. That is, the touch point matters. And that is where leading with content, a truly aligned marketing and sales organization where the marketing team is committed to helping sales with stage-appropriate content that can help move through the discussions. You should not be just checking in. You should be saying, hey, prospect, I just recorded a fire podcast with Hannah. Have you ever heard of her? You need to check out this episode. I put it on this page for you so you can watch it. And by the way, what did your team think of the agreement? Let me know. Have a great day. You can still get your objective out there. I need to know, have you looked at this? But if all I do is ask you that, I'm annoying you. But if I bring you some value as well, right, and I'm more human in my approach, I feel like now I've been given permission to ask you one quick little salesy thing, like, hey, did you get it? Right?
Earn the right. I say it all the time on my content. Josh, earn the right to ask some stuff. If you earn the right, you're okay. You can ask things. You can push it out a bit more. You can push the boundaries. But people don't do that. They're just like, well, my sales process is this and I've got to do that. That's it.
I am not kidding. I could record a podcast episode with you every single day of the week for the next 15 years, and we would probably still have things to talk about. I'm so glad we finally met officially. I'm going to continue following and digesting your content. I hope that this goes somewhere, right? I would love to do another episode with you at some point. Maybe we can do a webinar at some point. Who knows where this is going to go? But regardless... I
need your software, by the way, Josh. You need to send me some pricing and stuff.
For you, Hannah, it's $0. No, it's... we can have that conversation for sure. I think you would just geek out over it, and I'd love to hear your 2 cents on it. But regardless, I hope everybody listening found value in this. If you were listening, you did, at least when Hannah was talking. So thank you for joining the Buyer Enablement Podcast. We've been on a hiatus for a little while, but now we're starting it back up again, and I needed a fire person to start this with, so here we go. Get ready. I'll try and release a new one every couple weeks. We'll see if I can stay on it. You know, I am trying to run a business as well, so this kind of sometimes falls to the bottom of my list of problems. But thanks for joining us, and make sure to check out our previous episodes on our YouTube channel as well. Have a great day and happy selling. Bye.